D Walker 84. How you doing, my guy?
What's up, AC? Hey, man, another week, man. Another blessed week of the RMAC football. Another
Mm-hmm.
opportunity for us to sit down and just chat. Bless, man. How are you, man? How's your week going?
Well, things would be going better, but we're having some technical difficulties, so we don't have any of our slides currently available at the moment. But what we have some video from arguably one of the best matchups in the country last weekend. We had CSU Pueblo, your old school. You guys see the 84 in the back there, going up to Gunnison to take on the Western Colorado Mountaineers, who are undefeated at 8-0. And if I'm not mistaken, was the last time you Pueblo beat Western when you were playing?
Yeah, my senior year we lost, so it might have been my junior year was our last year we beat them, but we
What
lost
year?
going.
What year was that?
Senior year was 2021, and
So
so
20,
it's been
2019.
yeah, so it's 6 years since we beat them, and we beat them up there. I think we beat them
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So
So kind of similar to what Western did last week versus Mines. How it was like a team that they hadn't beat in years on end, kind of the status quo. Well, Pueblo went into Gunnison and they put that to bed. Taylor Tosh's real early in the game. I would argue Taylor Tosh's and Reggie Retzlaff, when they're on their top game, they might be just as good and as lethal a combo as the boys at Mines. We're going to see this upcoming weekend. But Pueblo, they take the early 10-0 lead to get things started. Western, they climb back. They really didn't get anything going in the first half, but the second quarter, this play, dude, you notice this tight end, every time they get in the goal line, he's wide open for touchdowns. Coach McClain drawing it up, and then Reggie Retzlaff just going up, getting it. The balance to shrug off the defender and then get to the house. Reggie looks like he's back kind of on the same way that he started, the season, just on fire. But Taylor Tosh is right there, catching it, extending, getting in. The Pueblo offense really seemed to have it going. Roman Fuller did his thing. He won the National Football Foundation Colorado Player of the Week. Drew Nash, though, here, the Cole Ritters, like Drew Raiders. I got Drew Nash possibly as the best QB in the RMAC, and there we go. Got a little bit of a pause there, but Western, they try to storm back, but ultimately they weren't able to get it done. Pueblo, man, very very impressive showing, especially after last week. Russell Howard, man, every week, dude, 100 plus yards. Another this week, I think it was 159 this week. Only on about like less than 20 carries. Dude's just explosive. He has that really nice gait. Um, yeah, dude, I can just go on and on. Pueblo just did their thing and they cruised. This final score, they only won by 10, but in my opinion, I was there in person. Pueblo controlled this one throughout. Reggie, man, just not fair, dude. Just not fair. Does Reggie remind you of any of the guys you played with by any chance?
I always tell everybody, I only got to play with a consistent receiver all the time. That was Max Fine, obviously, and he's wearing 13. So I'm over here
Mhm.
seeing T squared. So the combo for these two is R2T2, by the way, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it's R2T2, by the way. So, yeah, when you got the combo like this, I mean, we never really had a combo like that. But when I was playing, we really never had an offense like this. Somebody that can generate points of 44 points. When we played, it was 17 points, 24 points, and defense usually had 7, 14 of those points. But I want to say I did call this. I said it was going to be a closer game, but it was kind of surprising in a few aspects of what we've talked about in the year. We've talked about their offense struggling, the quarterback positioning, where it's at. Obviously, that flame, the defense having to carry a lot of it. And in this game, really, the offense had to carry a lot of it. It really felt like the defense, yeah, they made a lot of plays, but it also felt like they were giving up the plays. I mean, it was it was selfish plays too. I mean, when you go back and you watch the tight end touchdown, they're in man. How do you miss that? You're in man to man on him the
Bad
whole way,
eyes.
and he goes right up. Bad
Bad
eyes. Your eyes are in the backfield. Both of us play, DB. We know what that's going to do to us. And then you go to the halftime Hail Mary. As DBs, one, we're taught that there's a jumper. Obviously, there's a middle guy. We don't out jump the jumper. Your job is to box out, and then as a jumper, you're going up and you're putting it straight down.
Putting it down.
It's ironic and it's funny that I say that because against Mesa my senior year, I went up and was trying to get one at halftime, and luckily it went down, but I was just trying to get one in the open half, and the ball was thrown to like the 17-yard line. I told Karst after that year after I was coaching there at Mesa, I was like, dude, I felt like you're just trying to throw me the ball. That's kind of how it felt. But man, like you gotta give a big shout out to kind of both teams. I mean, Western they hung out, they hung around to play enough to where you can tell that this team isn't gonna just give up. They are gonna be a team that's gonna be hard in the playoffs. They're gonna play.
Something that I noticed and something that I think was really the key in the game, and I think our wise buddy Miles Dunklin could speak to this a little bit. How you doing, my man? Miles, would you say the reason Western won against Mines was, in my opinion, it was Ricky Freeman and Jaden Young. They just wrecked the game. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, sure would.
They didn't wreck the game at all this week. Ricky Freeman had 2 TFLs, but no sacks on the quarterback that I remember. Western, every time we watch a Western game, it's like a quarterback's running for his life, like he's under siege for the whole game. Roman Fuller was like, they protected him. Tyler Etheridge did his thing. CSU-Pueblo's left tackle. I think he had a really good game, and I think that was the difference in the game. Just simply holding those two in check allowed Fuller the time to let his receivers get down the field. And we see if you let him sit in the pocket and he's comfortable, he can dice you up. I think he was like 430 this week and 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. What do you think of the game, Miles? Did you get a chance to watch it?
Yeah, sure did. And I'm totally with you, by the way. And like, I think there's a lot of quarterbacks at this level that if they have time and if they have those type of weapons, can make a lot of plays. Evan Foster's certainly capable of that. I'll go back to one of the early sacks that Fremont had where he just pushed the right tackle out of the way against Colorado School of Mines. I mean, Max McLeod was gone for an 80-yard touchdown on that one, certainly from the bird's eye view, if he had another second to make that play. So, yeah, when you can sack the quarterback 5 times and you can hold that defensive front with some true studs, game wreckers, like you said up front, to 1 sack, yeah, you're going to have a chance to sling the ball down the field to your playmakers. And certainly he's one of the guys that's more than capable of doing that.
Mm-hmm. Overall, like where does Western go from here? Western's 8-0. They were riding on high after that big Mines win, big monumental win for them. They get humbled a little bit. Where does Western go from here, and how does Western bounce back, specifically in their secondary? Like, is it something that I just noticed, just going back and watching it, their secondary since Ethan Sanchez Maxwell got knocked out late in the Mines game has just been getting torched. And I'm not talking like dink and dunk stuff, big plays down the field. Is he a guy that maybe we didn't notice as much all season, but is like super, super important to that defense? What would you say, Tanner?
I mean, it's almost unfair to give Western just that look, right? Look at the last 2 teams they played against. Look at the last 2 offenses they played against, right? Like, they're going to pass it out and throw it around. And, it's a pretty impactful thing when you're missing a guy that's a key role, right? Like, you and I are both DBs. We're used to practicing safeties communicating, corners communicating. And it throws it off when you have one guy missing, because now you're really not used to practicing with that guy all week, or something that throws off that little chemistry to where it's a little off balance. But you really, I mean, you got to look at it. The last 2 teams they play schematically on offense, you're blessed that you didn't give up 800 yards each week, right? Like, I mean, honestly, like those are the two genius offensive coordinators that are come in. So you really got to give credit to Western what they have been able to do. To kind of lean back to what we talked about with the against Pueblo with the D line, basically is kind of look at both ways, which we talked about last week. The winner of the trenches, we're truly gonna dictate it. You got to give a shout out to not only the O line, but the running back for doing his job. We always talk about him carrying the ball yard after yard after yard, but he had to step in and make some blocks. Those tight ends that they like to sit in with their 11 personnel, sitting in with the chip, being able to give that time, right? So there's 7 characters all there that are able to stop 5 guys coming at him almost every play. Obviously, Western usually blitzes a lot.
It might be 7-on-7 or 8-on-7 sometimes.
Every time I'm like, dude, they send it. I mean, that's the punishment. Lean back to it. That's the punishment for your DBs. You're in that island. It's not just the corners. You're not in the island, but your safeties. You're going against a shifty slot who gets 2 yards freedom from the line of scrimmage, so you can't press them, and so it's just hard. But to go from like where do they go from here? I'm not going to say they're hurt. And if you look in the regional picture, I really think they're sitting at second, third. I really think they're because
I think we actually have the official ones. They came in 4th in the latest one. First was Pueblo. I want to say second was Sioux Falls, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think it was Sioux Falls.
Augustana.
It's Augie. Is Sioux Falls third then?
No,
Mankato's third.
Mankato, okay.
And I
Western's
believe they
4th,
played.
nevertheless.
Yeah.
Western's 4th, Mesa's like 8th, and mine's is 10th, I want to say.
Yeah, so it goes Pueblo, Augustana, Mankato. Western's at 4. Angelo State's at 5. Then Central Washington. That's a super interesting team again this year. Definitely fascinated to see them. Sioux Falls, Western Oregon, then Mesa and Mines. Obviously, a lot to be determined with Mines at Pueblo this week about where Mines is going to end up right there. And the same for Pueblo. So lots of football left to be played here with some meaningful games left. But no, Western, to your point, Tanner, I think they're in a good spot still here. And look, you played Colorado School of Mines and Colorado State University Pueblo back to back. You're probably happy relatively. I think if you got Coach Baines in a moment of honesty and you say you can split those games 1-1, would you take that? I think you probably would. Yeah. Right. And so I think it's going to be the way they finish their season, especially at Mesa. That's going to be a tough game, a winnable game for them, but a tough game. And then can they go get a playoff win? Because what you don't want to have happen is a repeat of last year if you're Western and, have that great team through the first 3 quarters of the season and then not be able to finish in a way that lets you feel good going into the offseason.
But Pueblo on the other end, they got to be feeling really good. They get this big dub heading into this Mines game. Obviously, there were other games in the RMAC, but we want to talk about right now. We want to talk about the really big stuff. With Pueblo taking on Mines, it's kind of similar to Western. Like they played Western, now they're playing Mines. How do they avoid the trap that Western, so to speak, fell in and losing on their home field? What do you think Pueblo needs to do to win this game? Either of you.
I'll go with let's hear Tanner first. He wore
the
that
Pueblo guy.
Yeah. So it's a weird thing, man. Playing Mines and Pueblo, that's a huge rivalry as its own thing. So one, you're welcoming them to your what we call the den, right? The Thunderbolt, right? You're coming into our territory. It's a rivalry week on top of that, and it's your senior week. So
hey, one more thing, that they're also honoring the 10-year anniversary of the national title team.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going to get to. I was hoping that I was going to get to make this trip up there, but with life, obviously, I'm not going to be able to. But you've got all this basically outside noise, and for a DT program to have this much outside noise, it's really for coach. Can we focus everybody in to hear? Hey,
shout out to Matt Witwicky, man. Whit, you're the man. You're the man, Whit. We appreciate you. Continue. Sorry.
That's clutch, though. But like you got to be able for Coach Veal, he's got to be able to focus his guys in. Your seniors, you're going to be jittery. This is your last time to play. You're at home in season, guaranteed home, game, right? This is your legacy game. We talked about legacy. We've been talking about your legacy, right? As a player in Pueblo, we have the tradition. If you win the RMAC, your senior photo, like all of y'all as a senior photo group, you're on the wall.
I saw it today. I actually took a trip down there and visited with some coaches, and I saw the whole. That was my first time walking through. I saw the whole get up. I saw your ugly mug, Tanner, all.
Oh no, you didn't see mine. You didn't see mine because the last time.
Oh, not your senior year.
Yeah, the last time this situation happened, right here, Pueblo and Mesa or Mines played. Mines came in, and if Pueblo would have won, we would have won what would have been my fourth ring, right? But we lost. We lost on our home field. We didn't make the playoffs, and we didn't win the RMAC title. And we were kind of in this situation, right? So, there's a lot to it that builds into this kind of history of it, right? And so for the program, you kind of got to look at it as, one, our offense has got to be on fire like they have been. But two, your defense has to rekindle what they've been doing in the past. They can't give up I'm just going to kind of say, really, you can't let Mines get the shot to get in that fourth quarter shootout, right? Like we saw it last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess, with Western and Mines when they got that in the fourth quarter shootout. Western already kind of had a little pad on them and was already kind of up there. You put that in the Pueblo way last week, that shootout was there. That pad was still there, and it got really close. It kept getting really close. That Mines team, I think, has that little difference. I really think they're able to make that one play, obviously 80-yard touchdown for Max McLeod. They're able to do it. And the last time we played them, Max McLeod took a 93-yard bubble to the house. I wasn't on the field. I will say I was not on the field. I got cramps coming out of half, so I was sitting on the sideline. First play of the half, bubble for a touchdown. So it's gonna come down, and I'm gonna say for this week, it's gonna come down for the secondary of both teams. Who's gonna be able to hold really the dominant guy for Mines? If Max doesn't go over 125 and you can keep Flynn kind of within 90 to 100, you're kind of in a good shot, because when they both go over 100, over 125 each, that's when you're not in a reach game. But for the opposite side, Pueblo, you've now got R2T2. You can't let either one of them really get high. For Reggie, that he's going to be that kind of one-on-one guy. So I think you kind of end up bracketing him. I think Zimmer's going to follow him all game, and that's going to kind of be the matchup is right there. Now, for the Pueblo side of it, you're going to have Pittman kind of probably follow around with Flynn. I really think. I think Pittman kind of matches better up more in the slot. And really one of the other two corners you pick and choose. I mean, you've been watching them. You pick and choose which other corners can go to Max, but I think you're going to really have to shadow a safety over him to really kind of dictate it, right? So that's kind of my projection, though, is it's going to be on the safeties. It's going to be on the corners for both sides. And for Mines, you have a shot to really come in and make it where Pueblo now shares the ring, and you've now put your chance at a spot at the 7th seed, because I believe they play Fort Lewis for their final game, right? Which that's not going to give them any bonus points for the final week. This is kind of like their game that they get to showcase, like, here's where we're at. And I think, Miles, you're in that building, you're kind of around them, like the feeling's kind of mutual. This is a huge rivalry, and this kind of leads to it.
Right, and I guess we're already getting to our Mines Pueblo preview here. Yeah. But that's okay. Look, I really feel like Mines is kind of in an interesting spot for them. It's hard to say that they don't have anything to lose, because they don't see themselves as that kind of team that's trying to spoil you. They see themselves as the Hunty, as the team at the top. But it is kind of a dangerous spot to have them in. Kind of with their backs against the walls. Right, they have to win this game. To your point, this is it right here. Okay, this is what the career is going to come down to for guys like Max McLeod. Okay, and his crew. who, when they walked off that field last year, they're still hungry for more. So kind of like I said, not a good spot for Pueblo to be against this Mines team where they can really jumpstart their season and put themselves right back where they want to be in the playoffs, dangerous, ready to go ball. And we know when they're playing well, they can play with anybody, right? So I think they're kind of a dangerous team in that regard right now. What I'm curious about certainly is the health of their backfield, right? And they've battled a lot of injuries this year, maybe not as notable as losing a quarterback or a starting running back like they didn't have last week. So I would love for them to be able to get Evan Foster back. I'd love for them to be able to get a healthy Landon Walker back. Those two guys are critical. I know both of you guys have seen Landon enough to know what type of player he can be. And I think he's truly potentially a real difference maker on the field when he's out there. They don't have those two guys. Look, I love the new quarterback for Mines, and we'll get to recap in their game and talk about Joseph Capra and what he can bring. But look, I think they'd love to be able to have Evan Foster and go to battle with him and those wide receivers and some playmakers on defense. I think a guy like Jackson Zimmerman, like you mentioned right there, Joel Diaz, they do have some players in the secondary that hopefully can match up with those excellent skill players. I think it's about being able to block up front, make sure Evan Foster has the time. But when he does, guys, he's been as dangerous. Have they been consistent? No, but have they been as dangerous as anybody in the country? Yes. So they can definitely go out there. They definitely have that belief in their ability. They can go out there and get this type of win.
Heck yeah. Well, look, now we have our slides. We can go back to kind of a more regularly scheduled program. The Mavs, man, did it the same way they always do it. Not too much offense, but a whole lot of defense, and they just kind of grind you into a pulp. Colin Sturr, man, like me and you off air, we're always talking about, like, I'm always giving out my defensive player of the year, like, projections. Like, if Mesa, obviously there's still things to happen, but if Mesa wins the conference or wins a share, like, I'd like to say Colin Sturr probably deserves a lot of votes towards that defensive player of the year. 3.5 sacks on the day, 4 TFLs, 10 total tackles. Like, dude was killing it. Liu Amave, efficient again, not too many yards, but didn't turn the ball over. And then Brandon Belgrave, he's steady. They got a couple backs. Aiden Taylor's really good to me too. Mesa's flowing right now. We obviously got to see them up against Western in the coming weeks, but I think this was just right what Mesa expected to do, and they went out and did it.
Yeah, I think what's nice if you're Mesa is they have an identity, right? They know exactly who they are. That's really helpful, right? You guys know that when you have a recipe for success and you feel like you can follow that recipe and it's going to prove to get you wins, that's something you can really hang your hat on. And hey, don't look now, but their 2 losses are to 2 really, really good football teams, and they have a win over Colorado School of Mines, and they just keep taking care of business. So I think ACU got to be thrilled with how they're playing right now. They have a fun brand of football. They got playmakers on defense, and the offense is doing just enough. And they're doing a great job of just playing that complementary football that's got them, 6 wins in a row? 5 wins in a row?
6. Yeah, I believe 6.
So they got to be feeling pretty good about themselves right now.
Yeah,
I would say with that identity as well, you're dangerous to beat a team like Western, and to take care of business against South Dakota Mines and be right there in position to be the playoff team.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of go with you, to flip it kind of back to the defense, man. Like, this is week after week after week, we see this defense holding teams to 14 to, I mean, really less points at all. I can't think off the top of my head what the Mines Mesa game was, but I mean, still they were able to hold a very productive team. And I mean, they caught Pueblo early, and I think they were still trying to figure out who they were when they got Pueblo. And then now they're kind of, they know what they're doing. They're a pro style team, right? They're going to run the ball, quick dump off. And I mean, from the defense perspective, man, when you're able to give your offense 7, 8, 9, 10 possessions, that can do a lot because that helps with possession and that possession clock, that possession time, to where you're draining that clock. And you look right here, it's 0-0 in the first 2 quarters for Black Hills. They were actually they were really giving Mesa's offense a lot of shots to have the possessions in the first half. It really was. I thought Mesa could have had, leniently 14, 21 points. Kind of left a few plays out there, but it also set them up in the second half to have good setup, come back with counters. Their zone kind of just was able. When Belgrave got out and he broke the sideline, I was like, he's going to score, and he was able to make that move, and it pushed that cornerback, and he reached that across. I was like, that was an amazing play. Like the scheme for that was set up in the first half. So the way they're able to rebound, kind of go in at halftime and be like, here's our adjustments, right? Here's what we're going to do. They've kind of learned their lessons from the first couple of games. Their first 2 losses are against 2 amazing, programs, 2 teams that are up there, and yet Mesa is still not ranked. Like, it's blowing my mind.
I can go on and on about that. I can go on and on about Mesa not being ranked because it's totally not fair. But we'll say, hey, just let them keep winning. It doesn't matter if they're ranked.
I got one more thing when you're done.
Go for it.
Yeah, by the way, anytime you get the other team to make coaching changes after the game, that's you've done something right on the defensive side there. So obviously, never wish anybody to lose their job. But that's says something for your defense that you go out and do that good of a job that they say, hey, we gotta go a different direction. The most that they've allowed, including Colorado School of Mines, Black Hill State on the roster, on the schedule there, was 13 points since the Pueblo game. So that's stout. You're going to be 6-0, holding teams at 13.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, we're still having some more technical difficulties. Obviously, our slides aren't updating all those stats for Black Hills. Those are clearly shadowed from the week before. But nonetheless, here let's just skip to the regional rankings. This is the most important stuff happening right now. We're at that time of the year. We were just mentioning the polls. As much as we would like to see a number in front of Mesa, they have no bearing on the regional rankings.
Right.
Top 7 teams in each region get in. So, like, if the season ended today and the playoffs started, let's see, Mesa and Mines are just out, but they both have the opportunity with big games ahead to jump up here. What do you guys think about this? Like, if I'm being candid, and Whit, I'm sure Whit may want to jump in here at some point, but I'm not convinced that these 2 other conferences are head and shoulders above the RMAC and should be treated as such. And I feel like if there's any team for us to get, if there's any year for us to get 3 teams, this is probably it. Like, whichever 3 teams finish first, the top 3 teams in our conference are playoff worthy teams. Is that going to happen? History says probably not. But what are your guys' takeaways looking at this?
I'm going to jump kind of first and kind of give everybody a kind of big picture, right? So I tweeted this out or X'd it out. I don't know what you kind of call this app anymore.
It's still
I'm gonna say it's still tweeting, right? So in the next 2 weeks, Pueblo, obviously they play Mines, then we play Chadron. Western, they play Chadron, and then they play Mesa. Mesa plays South Dakota Mines, then Western. Mines plays Pueblo, then Fort Lewis. The reason I say all 4 of those is because all 4 of those teams, one of each other is going to ruin somebody's schedule, right? Now you jump over to the LSC and you look at the teams that are kind of in this schedule, right? Angelo State and Western Oregon play each other this weekend. One of their schedules is kind of shift around, right? Sul Ross, a team who's kind of, not an easy to beat team. It's their first year playing at the D2 level, but they play at Central Washington, right? Those are kind of games that you kind of look at as a coach on the side. Obviously, you're kind of like, oh, what's happening in the regional, right? But then you go to next week in the LSC. You have West Texas A&M playing Angelo, who we've seen West Texas play Western to a very good game. I watched that live. There's a shot for that
as well.
Yeah, and I forgot they played Mines, and so there's a shot for that to be upset. Plus, Western Oregon and Central Washington actually play each other next week. So if and I'm just going to kind of reach, but if Angelo State beats Western Oregon and Central Washington wins next week, well, Central Washington and Western Oregon are playing for a spot. They're playing for one of these right here, which kind of gives you. Obviously, Angelo might be kind of safe with what their kind of record looks like, so they might be the 4 or 5 team. But one of those 2 other LSC teams is going to kind of knock each other out. And then going over to the NSIC, obviously Augustana and Minnesota State and Sioux Falls, right? Sioux Falls and Augustana play this week. That's a really big game, big regional game, right? And then next week you get Minnesota and Duluth, which is a huge rivalry game in state. And then you get Augustana and Bemidji, a team that's played in the playoffs. Kind of,
we've seen a lot of Bemidji, Miles,
and we see Bemidji down there fighting for just kind of like a ruiner, but they're sitting at 11. They're kind of getting that outside vote, but they can do it. They can show, and we've seen 3 lost teams make it. But this year it's going to be a lot harder. But maybe with your resume, you get the shot, right? So these next 2 weeks, these top 10 teams are gonna move around. That was basically where I'm going with these games. Can go everywhere.
If Mines beats Pueblo, is the RMAC shot at having the 1 seed out of there?
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
It would be tough. Western would be the only contender there. They obviously have a resume builder left with Mesa, but is that enough of a resume builder with 2 losses still to be the number 1 seed? I don't know.
They would only have 1 loss at that point, though.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Western. Western would only have 1 loss. Western would have a chance depending on how it shakes out at the top.
Yeah. I didn't see these over here.
Their loss has to be what is it? What is Augie's loss this year? Did Augie lose to Minot?
I got this for us real quick. It was, I believe theirs was also pretty early.
Was it Minot?
They lost to South Dakota State.
They have to have a D2 loss.
Sorry, Minnesota State, Moorhead. Sorry, there we go.
Oh, the Dragons. Yeah. Hey, shout out AJ Scott, former Mad coach up there. But
that was a couple weeks ago. I mean, they're on a 5-game winning streak now, so they're kind of like Mesa in a way. I mean, they took their first 2 licks, first 4 weeks, kind of in that opening thing right there. I mean, one of their losses is to a D1 program. I mean, you shake that one off, but. I mean, I've played against the top 2 teams right there. There's 2 teams that you don't want to play in the playoffs. Minnesota,
at their place.
Yeah, Ant-Man and Keto. That was 3 of the coldest games I've ever been a part of in my life. So I mean, those are 2 teams that you don't want to see in the playoffs. So for Pueblo, you want to win out, so you get that first week of letting everybody beat each other up, and then you let everybody come up to you, where it's probably going to be snowing. Because now it seems like Colorado is going to get a lot of snow every day. Sorry for y'all 2 out there. Be safe. Thankfully,
I'm stoked.
You're stoked.
Miles loves it.
Yeah, I love it.
He's like, I'm going to the mountains next week. I'm skiing.
Yeah.
Baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I can't pull up the RMAC slate for this week, but
well, let me ask you guys: if Colorado Mines beats Pueblo, even if it's 7-6. In a monsoon and it's ugly as can be, are they a playoff team if they find a way to beat CSU-Pueblo and then take care of business against Fort Lewis? Are they a top 7 team?
To me, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
But then you're saying then what are you doing? The Mesa team who handled Mines. If it's, handle,
it was 14-13. It is a win.
Okay, sorry, they handled it, but like you're saying, it's a close game. But I mean, for Mesa to do that, I mean,
this is why it's a predicament. Right? This is why it's not an easy question to answer.
Right.
Well,
now you got me really thinking about it. I'm thinking about like whose losses are better. So Mines loses to Western, one of the better teams in the region, in my opinion. But their other loss is to Mesa. So I guess it just depends how highly you rank Mesa because, I mean, Mines loss to Mesa, like, yeah, I don't know. That's good, Tanner. That was good. You
Because
got
No,
me there.
you have 1 and 6, like your 2 losses for Mesa are against the 1 and the 6 in your region, and the 2 losses for Mines is the 9 and the 1, or the 9 and the 4 in the region, right? So I
as
mean,
of now, yep.
as of now, right? But that's why we're blessed with the next 2 weeks because
Yeah.
it's really gonna shake out. It really is one of those things. And in a weird way, I've also kind of been in this weird predicament. I think AC, you've also been in this predicament when y'all got in the playoffs and we didn't get in the playoffs. You know, when they took it was the top 3 teams, and we were fighting for that edge.
No, the way I always remember it was it would be they would take the top 2 and never 3, and it used to make like we went 9-2 for like 3 years straight and only went to the playoffs once, and I'm like, how is this real
Yeah.
life? But like who do you guys? Let's make some predictions on the big game. We see Brandon right here. He has CSUP locking up the RMAC this weekend. Um, who you guys got and why? The floor is yours. You guys go first, and then I'll split the tie because I imagine you two are going to agree.
We're just talking Pueblo and Mines.
Yep.
Okay, well, I think let's go right to Antonio because I think we already know who we're picking.
Oh,
I'm not going to pick against my guys. He's not going to pick against his. Right. Well, I'll tell you. I'll give you the scenario where Colorado School of Mines wins the game. How about that?
Okay.
Like I said, I think this is a hungry team, a team with something to prove, and weapons, right? And really, really good football players. And I think, some of that showed up last week. Some of their depth continued to show up. You saw Braylon Tate run for 200 yards.
210.
Take a touchdown back to the house on a kick return. Now, I do understand, the opponent. That's a frisky opponent there in New Mexico Highlands. But that's a team with a lot of talent, a lot of depth. It hasn't clicked all the time this year, and that's why we've seen those 2 losses. When it has clicked, they've looked as good as anybody. And so I feel like they have more of that football left in them. I would be surprised if we've seen the last of Flynn Shealy and Max McLeod and Evan Foster and Landon Walker and Nick Stone and Jackson Zimmerman and Adrian Moreno and the studs they've had that have made plays for years and years and years. So, that's kind of my scenario where they win the game. I think they can potentially run the ball. And no knock on CSU Pueblo, but they just got some good backs. I think when they're hot, they can play with anybody, and they're certainly going to have their hands full. But once again, they have weapons on each side of the ball. I will also say that early in the season, their pass rush was basically non-existent, which is so strange for them. And the turnover situation has also been very strange. I believe they've only recovered 1 fumble on the entire year. Look, guys, in pregame warmups, you put the ball on the turf every now and then. They just haven't gotten any ball luck. And that I sound like an apologist, but when you only get 1 fumble over the course of 9 games, that's you run into some bad luck there. So I think they're bound to get some bounces to go their way. They've got a lot of talent. This game means the world to them. And like Tanner said, there's a lot on CSU Pueblo's shoulders right now. And so that's a big task, and that's no knock on their football team, but that's a really big task to keep all that stuff out and just go out there and play the best football they can play. All right, Tanner, tell me why CSU Pueblo wins.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of what you say, man. I mean, you're right there. Like I kind of see it like that's a perfect game plan. Going for Pueblo, I kind of already hinted at it with the beginning, right? It's going to go for your DBs. If you can control your receivers and let the box kind of do its thing. You got Gary in the middle. You got Nushi in the middle. You got Ramy and Scipio on the edges. If you can control what you can control as a DB unit and basically take away their screen plays, the quick glances of their rub routes, we call those glances for DBs. But that's going to be their biggest, I guess, project to win. But we've seen that they've been high, low, high, low, high, low with their quarterback play in the past week. So it's going to come down offensively to stay afloat with the pressure that Mines going to be able to put on. Because I said this 2 weeks ago when Mines was beginning to play Western. You don't really catch a Mines team ever playing, up and down like that. You always catch them playing 4 quarters just like that. They're flat line. So if Pueblo doesn't beat themselves, they're able to generate points. They're able to get off the field. They're able to get those third down stops, not giving, selfish penalties, shooting ourselves in the foot, then I think they're going to be in a position to truly win. I do not believe this game is going to be a blowout. I do not think this game is going to be more than 7 points. I think it truly is going to come down to a couple drives in the fourth quarter of back-to-back, kind of how it's been. And it's going to be 5-6 point game. One team's probably going to be driving. Quote me, Miles, but quote me here in the fourth quarter when you're calling it like.
I wish I was calling it. I'm not, unfortunately.
Yeah, obviously they're in Pueblo.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. But just quote me. You're going to say it. They're going to be in the fourth quarter. One of the two teams is going to be having a drive that can either take the lead and now gain the momentum or put the game away. And it's going to come down to the 3-point game right there. So if they score a field goal, it's going to be a 6-point game, or a touchdown, 10-point game. Other team goes around and scores. I just think it's going to be a less than 6-point game in the end. And Pueblo is going to end up winning just because they have the firepower this year. My man Joe Serby out there said this is the best offense he's seen since my sophomore year's class was able to play, and the defense statistically has been able to carry him. So it's going to be up to Mines to really come in and take over the trap. Walk into the trap, take over the trap.
By the way, nobody knows more ball than our guy RMAC Insider, and certainly this is the truth. Best scenario for Mines is to put a lot of pressure on him, get him on the ground often. Obviously, every football team on the earth wants to do that. We talked about that earlier. Both these quarterbacks have the weapons, are more than capable of distributing the football to the weapons. The difference for Colorado School Mines this year has been lack of their ability consistently, especially early in the season, to sack the quarterback, which is a huge part of the game, as we all know. They've been able to manufacture a little bit more of that recently. If they can take care of the quarterback and sack the other team, they should be in good shape. Unfortunately, that has not been their strength so far this year.
I guess it's time, right? It's time for me to make a pick. Okay, so being there last week, watching Pueblo get over that Western hump after I'd been there last year and seen Western kind of dominate them, and just seeing that dynamic that was there, seeing them get over that hump and just the energy and vibe that Pueblo had last week, it reminded me of the teams like that I used to play against. Like when I was playing Pueblo, they walked around like they were better than everybody else. They talked trash like they were better than everybody else, and they played like it. And that was the vibe I got from last week. Taking that into account, Pueblo they're not a young team in my mind. Reggie's been here. Bone is super the veteran leader on the back end. Some of their transfers are guys that have played and have experience. I know Mines has a lot of guys, a lot of impact players from the past years, but they also have a lot of really young guys playing, guys that are, really, making their bones this year and making names for themselves. I think this environment's just going to be a little bit too much for Mines. I think the Thunderbolt is going to be rocking, having the Natty there, having the Natty celebration, that big win over Western. I just think the place is going to be rocking, and I don't think the mind of the team is going to have deer in headlights, but I could see a couple of players, maybe not being as assignment sound. I think the pressure. I think it's going to be a little bit too big of a game for Mines and the iteration of Mines that I've seen this season. So I'm going to roll with Pueblo. I think Mines' veteran leadership will not let them get blown out by any chance. But I do think Pueblo is just overall the better team, more talent and more depth right now at this point in the season. And I think Pueblo, I think after last week, I think the Black Hills week was like, that's a major stub of the toe that hurt really, really bad, but didn't break the toe. And now I think they're going to start running. I think Pueblo is going to be rolling into the playoffs. Seeing Fuller really just step into that starting QB role. It didn't seem like they were pressing to get other guys opportunities like they had been versus Black Hills. I think Fuller's the guy, and I think Pueblo. I think they win by 7, but not more than 10.
So Pueblo gets the AC curse this week.
Hey, man. Hey, man. I picked Adams last week, so I guess I am cursed, bro.
4-1, man.
Are you gonna make it to the game, Miles, by any chance?
That's the plan. I do have to call some basketball on Saturday night, so we're gonna see what it's looking like, how the weather's looking. If it's snowing, I'm gonna have to watch it at home. I wish it was a noon kickoff. I'd be there no matter what. But
is that Mines basketball you're talking?
Or Mines basketball? Yeah.
Oh, I do basketball too, dude. No,
yes, sir. Oh yeah, I actually do DU basketball on the fan around here as well.
Oh, okay.
So kind of switching back and forth between those two Copayos. But getting ready for hoops.
Heck yeah. Well, look, guys, we're sorry about the technical difficulties and all that good stuff, but it was great talking some RMAC football with you two. Of course, I'm honored and privileged to be able to talk some RMAC football with guys that know it and love it the same way I do. Do you guys got any final thoughts heading into week 10? Jesus Christ, felt like it was week 0.
I do want to kind of shout out. There's going to be 2 games that are being played this week that obviously we don't get to kind of look. I'll kind of highlight it here. Obviously, New Mexico travels down to Fort Lewis. There's a chance for either team to really get their 3rd win of the season, right? And that's pretty big for both of those programs.
Yep.
Colorado Mesa heading up to Rapid City, a team that we know is a very, very good team going against a hot Mavericks team in general, right? So we're kind of this week's kind of a sleeper RMAC team schedule, right?
What SD Mines is good at is like SD Mines stops the run. Mesa wants to run the ball, like really getting SD Mines and really killing them on the back end over the top, and that's not really Mesa's game. So it's gonna be strength on strength. That's gonna be really interesting.
And then we're gonna get. We've already highlighted obviously Mines and Pueblo playing. Adams State, Black Hills State. Adams State, chance to potentially get your first win.
I don't think so.
I wouldn't say they're counted out.
Spearfish?
It's hard. I mean, Black Hills
on that slick turn.
It's going to be hard, but you never know. Any given Saturday. But that is a game given this week. But also Shadron, another feisty team heading up to Gunnison, who Shadron's given multiple of these teams.
Yep.
RMAC, multiple good games. So this is kind of like a sleeper kind of weekend. Mason's going to South Dakota, Shadron's going down to Gunnison, and we're going to kind of get to see what comes from that. I really think Fort Lewis and New Mexico Highlands is actually going to be a really good game. I think truly there's going to be a lot of points put up in that game, and Stonewalker is going to probably walk around with over 350 passing.
Okay, well, here, look, since we're here and we're on the spot, let's pick them. Who you got?
Oh, we got spreads too. We got spreads.
Let's do it.
Okay, so this is made by Massey. It's made by a computer, so it's not the most accurate thing in the world. But we've got let's go New Mexico Highlands minus 13.5 in Durango on the grass.
I got Highlands. I got Highlands, but they win by less than 13.5. But yeah, I think that freshman running back grinds Fort Lewis into the dirt.
I'll take the opposite there. I'm going to take Fort Lewis on the plus 13.5. I actually think it's going to be. I mean, you can't really take either one, but I'm going to take Fort Lewis. I think
it's going to be a quick game. Both teams want to run the football. I'll take Fort Lewis in the points.
All right.
Okay.
All right. We got Colorado Mesa minus 3.5 at South Dakota Mines. Let's start with you, Antonio. Minus 3.5 for your boys.
Man, the boys are about to lock lock everything down the same way they have been. I'm just always. I feel like I lose in our pick'em a lot with the Mesa games because I just never expect them to score enough points to cover stuff. But you know what? I'll take it. Mesa covers it.
I'm following you right there. I think Mesa takes it both ways right there.
I'll take Mesa as well, but I will say South Dakota Mines, Jake Martinelli, he's kind of unorthodox. He's, he's not really the most traditionally, traditional quarterback with his technique, but he's feisty back there. So I like them to keep it interesting, but we'll take the Mavs and 3.5. Okay, we got Black Hills State with a 28.5 point spread at home against Adams State.
These spreads
I might have to take the spread, and I might have to take Black Hills State. Honestly, I mean, they are. I know I hyped them up. It's a chance. It is any given Saturday moment, but Black Hills, it's hard to play up there at this time of the year. And
it's hard
the best thing is that Mount Rushmore trip. So yeah, I'm taking that. I'm taking Black Hills State over 28.5 or 28. Now I'm taking that.
Dude, like I always feel so I feel disrespectful. I'm like, yeah, they're gonna win by 28.5.
Yeah, that's tough.
I got Black Hills winning, but I got Adams. They're gonna keep it closer than 28.5.
I'll take the backdoor cover. Maybe they get up 35 and then let up a touchdown and a field goal late. But yeah, I like Black Hills State as well. I really like their coaching staff. I think that's just a good overall football team. Not a lot of holes there. We got Shattering State plus 18.5 at Western. Now, my question here, guys, is what's the status of DJ Ralph? And obviously, he's a difference maker at quarterback and can really help out their offense. Do you guys have any knowledge there?
I didn't get a chance to listen to Dave Collins' show just yet this week, so I'm not sure. But whether he plays or not, I got Western winning, but I do got Shattern keeping it close. I think Shattern might. Their defense might have the best day against Drew Nash just because that front seven might be able to get after him a little bit.
When Shattered played Mines, did DJ play then too?
He did not.
He did not.
This is they had a true freshman playing.
In which they were able to prove that they can stay in those close games with good contact. So I think it's going to come in. And I mean, obviously we're comparing apples.
Sadly, we got confirmation.
DJ's out for the
year.
Okay, yeah, I'll take Western on the over. That kind of ruins it right there. I'm sorry, DJ. I kind of felt like if he was questionable, they've kind of got. But Tommy Thomas as he's worked his way back from injury, he's been popping in these last couple weeks. Like it's snowing in Gunnison right now. No, thank you. I'll take Gunnison at home.
I don't want to rag on the Mountaineers, but like I've been to their last two games. I've seen their last 5 quarters of football. In their last 5 quarters of football, it has been bombs away on their secondary. If you can run, you got shot.
Yeah.
Tommy Thomas can run, if nothing more. So, yeah, that was going to be interesting.
Okay, I'll take Western Colorado to win the game. I'll take Shattering State to keep it close. I'm with you, Tanner. I mean, I'm a little shell-shocked, honestly, after watching that game that Mines played at Shattering earlier this year, and impressed with how they can keep it close. And they do have a bell cow. They have an identity as well. They're not quite as good at it as Mesa, but they like to ride Jake Marshall and try to keep it close. So I'll take Shattering State and the points. Now, I'm not sure about the spread on this one. This wouldn't have been how I picked it. They got Colorado School of Mines minus 3.5 down the road in Pueblo.
Pueblo over. What?
Yeah.
Apparently, we got some type of a 3-year average being factored in there, which would make sense given the quality that the Orediggers have had lately, and relatively for Pueblo, where they've been the last couple of years. Once again, I think we already picked this game. I'm taking the Orediggers. I'll take them plus the points, whatever. Okay. And it's only 3.5. And you guys are riding with Pueblo on that one.
We got to agree here now. No matter who wins the game, both of you guys got to come back next week.
Oh, 100%.
I'm down. And hey, Tanner, I appreciate you filling in. I had to take my little getaway. I was ready to go that Thursday night, by the way, or that Wednesday night. I was all studied up, ready to go. And the last couple of weeks, I've had some broadcasts, so I appreciate you filling in. And let's ride it out all the way till the finish.
Yes, sir. No, it's been awesome. I appreciate it, and this is probably one of my favorite ones we've got to do. And dude, it's cool that we finally get to sit here and put all three of our minds, all three of our opinions, and what we kind of view. Miles, I kind of wanted to ask you this question. I know AC, you kind of haven't got this as much, but being up there in the box, doesn't it feel like you're playing Madden sometimes? Like just how it goes. Like obviously for me as a coach, we hear the play called and then you watch it happen, but I mean, it's a cool thing to put your perspective of how you see the game, and then AC, you've got the whole game mind, you're an IQ mind, and then I kind of got best of both worlds of seeing it. I have no idea where I would have been in coaching. I barely even reached and scratched the surface, but that opened it up. But it's so cool that all three of us get to come on, talk about something we truly love, which is the RMAC and what it brings week in, week out, and the opportunity it brings to kids from high school. And we highlight Colorado because that's where most of the teams are from. But, Nebraska, South Dakota, New Mexico, and Colorado, you're going to 4 states, and it's a blessing that you get to do that in this conference.
No, Tanner,
And
I'm with
we're
you.
all from different schools, dude.
Yeah.
But I can't say that it's like, man, the only way I can say it as the play-by-play guy is that I do all this homework. All the hay is kind of in the barn, right? As they say with football, with the players as well. I had to get through my on-camera portion, which is my least favorite part, and then the rest of it, I just get to watch it play out and enjoy it from my angle. But Tanner, I want to piggyback on what you just said. Growing up in Dallas, there wasn't this type of league that serves these communities like the RMAC does here, and it does it as well as it can possibly do it too. To serve the kids that are, maybe not the absolute top tier, ready to play at the D1 level type of athlete, but everybody else that is capable of playing and should be playing, and have that opportunity here in this area. I just think it's a fantastic thing, and it's not something that exists everywhere. Because, like I said, in Dallas, there's a big time D1 or bust mentality, and there's lots of kids that should have opportunities to play, going forward, and don't get that type of opportunity. And it really is a great league, and fits perfectly here for the area that AC and I are in.
Did you just reveal that connection? Is that how Martin gets all those Texas boys? Is it you?
It is not. Sadly, I wish they were recruiting the Highland Park more often. That'd be a good feeder program for them. They just offered one kid finally, actually, for this upcoming class. But no, I'm always going to represent those Dallas boys when they're out there. We got a few good ones right now.
Well, hey man, it was this was an awesome episode, and we're gonna have some interesting stuff to talk about next week, guys. But I think that's it.
Yeah.
You guys got anything?
I'm all good. I appreciate it. Let's get on to it.
As I said the last couple of weeks, be good to yourself, be good to others. That's all I got.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
you guys have a good night.
All right.